some very interesting things. Some very interesting things have happened under the cover of the Gang of Six. Did you see that the UAW is demanding a profit-sharing model for its workers? Well, are they talking about just at Ford, the one American auto company that's actually turning a profit, or do they mean at GM and Chrysler, two that aren't? GM is not paid back. I don't care in what fantasy land, trick of accounting, orchestrated paper recovery this company is going through at the hands of government. GM is neither recovered nor has it paid back all of the money to the American taxpayer. What it sounds like the UAW is looking for is a wage increase via another on-paper scam called profit sharing, from which they're going to extract even more dues money for their political purposes. Because, look, they were saved by the president. Now, this time around, they owe him. He needs their support, but they owe him one. And let me lay this out for you how it's going to work. You see, there's already this government escrow account from which GM subsidizes its payments to government. So it's just it's a paper trick. The government set up an escrow account for GM. Some portion of their monthly payments or quarterly payments are coming from, yes, sales, as the president is helping to orchestrate fleet sales of GM cars to companies he favors, like General Electric. But there's still this escrow account, and not to mention the president scrubbed billions of dollars. Just magically scrubbed. In other words, yeah, they're paid back based on what the government says they owe, not the total amount of money they borrowed. So as the government is using paper tricks and accounting gimmicks to make it look like GM is profiting, they can say, well, here, GM made $25 billion this year. Time is right to start paying those that made this happen with a profit-sharing plan. That's going to be extended to all UAW workers at the GM plants. And the higher the wage, the more the dues. The more the dues, the more money the UAW has to spend on political contributions. The more money it has to spend on political contributions, the more money it has to help Barack Obama get reelected. It's that simple. This is so simplistic. And I'm not getting this from anywhere else but the Associated Press. Headline, UAW chief to push for bigger profit-sharing checks. If the United Auto Workers Union agrees to profit sharing instead of pay raises from Detroit automakers, the companies will have to write bigger checks than they do now, the union president said Tuesday. In an interview with the Associated Press, President Bob King said profit sharing or other flexible methods of compensation will be discussed when the union formally begins contract talks with GM, Chrysler, and Ford next week. Now, does this mean if there's no profits, there'll be no wages? Because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like what they really want in an ideal world is a baseline wage, and then extra money if the company succeeds, but no loss if the company fails. If we were to strip away all of the BS associated with the General Motors quote-unquote recovery, strip it all away, and say, has General Motors sold X number of cars in a free market environment, turned a profit of Y number of dollars, then they can pay out. No, the answer is no. The answer is that General Motors has not undergone a free market recovery, meaning they came out with a whole group of new models, people strolling up and down boulevards where there's multiple car dealers, a cornucopia, a plethora, El Guapo, of car dealers, and deciding, you know what, between Toyota and General Motors, I'm going to pick General Motors. Between Nissan and General Motors, I'm going to pick General Motors. Between the Honda Accord and the Chevy Cruze, I'm going to pick the Chevy Cruze. Now, of course, in some instances, there are people that are doing that. You're seeing Chevy Volts and Chevy Cruzes on the road. Nobody's saying they're not selling a few of them. But they are not gaining in market share above their competition through a free market auto market. When you hear that the president is helping orchestrate for General Electric to buy 12,000 Chevy Volts spread over 2 years, it means every single quarter, it looks like, based on just raw figures, not put in context, that General Motors is selling these Volts. Boy, the people really want them. No. They're buying 3 and 4. They're going to buy 1,000 here and 2,000 there. Probably the number, whatever the number is needed to make it look like every single quarter the sales of Volts is increasing exponentially. And as long as there are as long as there are tax breaks for General Electric to do that, it means the government is look at it like for what it is. Here you have GM, which is a function of government. Over here you have GE, which is now a function of government as the CEO is a member of the Obama administration. In the middle you have the IRS and the EPA, functions of government. If one function of government is producing a product, and at a free market MSRP price, that product would not be sold, and through the EPA, a tax credit is offered, less money's collected by the IRS, and the product is sold to General Electric, a function of government. You have corporate fascism right there. And we're all supposed to believe that the president was a genius. Well, I'm not going to say he wasn't smart when it came to corporate, fascist, left-wing, progressive, communist government control of industry. And he's also pretty good at convincing you that this is all happening organically. This is government orchestration here. And now you've got the UAW saying, hot diggity dog, we want more money. Well, we're not going to ask for a wage increase. We're going to ask for profit sharing. That means the government's going to have to orchestrate profit for General Motors. If they really want to go ahead with real profit sharing, they should have no wages, and they can have percentages of profit, and we'll see how happy those workers are. That means getting the EPA, the IRS, Barack Obama, and General Electric out of the picture. Let these workers build the best car they can build, put it out on a dealership. If it sells, they get paid. If it doesn't, they don't. 1-866-95-PATRIOT. JP Atlanta, you're on the Wilkow Majority. We'll take some calls early.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I'm in the truck. It's kind of loud. Why not do that? Let's not give them the money and let's see what the workers can do, and let's see if the product doesn't sell, and then with more people.
Well, hold on, Jay. We already gave them the money. We already gave them billions of dollars. We already gave General Motors billions of dollars that they have not given back.
Okay, but all I'm saying is, why let a American company go out of business and fail? Why not help them? You know what I mean? I'm not understanding.
What do you mean? Why let them go? If they're not making a product that people want to buy, why should the government buy it?
I have a GM car, though. I don't understand who's not buying them.
Really? You've never
seen them all on the street.
All those Mercedes-Benz that are out there, all the BMWs that are out there, all the Nissans and Toyotas out there.
Yeah, the more wealthier people, but I mean, common folks.
The wealthy people are driving Toyotas?
No, Mercedes. You said Mercedes.
Well, I gave you a whole laundry list of companies. So by your standard, there should be no such thing. There should be no such thing. There should be no such thing. Thank you for the call. There should be no such thing as an Obama sticker on a foreign car then. And all those rich people, you mean they don't make Cadillacs at General Motors for rich people? Those high-end Yukons and Escalades aren't for rich people? Don't give me this crap. Why are we going to, what do you mean let this company go out of business? It's not for the government to let or not let a company go out of business. If the people choose their products, they won't have a problem. If the people don't choose their products, then they do have a problem. I'm gonna weave throughout the program some theory here. I was thinking about this, and I say I get most of my best ideas while exercising or running. And let me direct this at liberals who simply don't understand. That includes some of the dummies that work here at SiriusXM that have no idea what the hell they're talking about. I don't think a lot of liberals understand government. I think they think that government's supposed to work the way that they want it to when they're in control of it, and when they're not in control of it, it's still supposed to work the way they want it to. When you look at conservatives and libertarians and Tea Party members, they want a decentralization of government. That means government not controlling things, for better or for worse. Liberals, who call themselves liberals, want the government to control everything for the greater good. Where's liberty in that? If the government is controlling your retirement, and the government's controlling the student loan industry, and the government's controlling the auto industry, and the government's using the tax code to discourage or encourage behavior, well, if you eat this, you're going to pay a tax. If you use this kind of toilet, you're going to pay a tax. If you try to use this light bulb, you're going to pay a tax. Where is liberty in that? This is the problem with liberals. They're too dumb to know they're not really liberals. That's the problem. A liberal's too dumb to know they're not really a liberal, because there's no liberty in their agenda. And deep inside the heart of every person who's a card-carrying liberal is somebody who thinks they are best equipped to make decisions in the lives of other people. And the only place they think the government shouldn't be making decisions for you is in your bedroom. That's it. They want to control everything that you do, everything you put into your body, unless, of course, you insert it into your rear end. Then you can do whatever the hell you want. Show me a liberal who believes in liberty, for better or for worse. And when you say, well, shouldn't the government be there to do for better? That's not how government works. When government takes control of something, let me back up the thought here. Let me scale back a point. If you look at government as the avenue to solve a problem, how many problems has government really solved? Versus how many problems have they created? When they break free of the constitutional restraints placed on them, the government will cause more problems than they will solve. But let's just say for the sake of argument, the government solves the problem. If the problem is solved, does the government relinquish control of the problem? No, we're still in GM. If GM is fully recovered, if GM can stand on its own, as the government says it can, then why does the government still own shares of General Motors? Again, when the government claims to have solved the problem, they still maintain control. So the idea that we're going to entrust to government an ability to solve problems really just means we're giving the government more control over something. Now, here's the worst part of it, and you liberals, listen up. Listen very carefully. Here's the downside of that. When the government fails to solve the problem, when the government seemingly makes the problem worse, they take even more control and demand even more power. When was the last time you saw government say, you know what we need in our society? Less power, less government. You don't. How long is it going to take before the government takes away something that garden variety, run-of-the-mill liberals like? I mean, can you imagine if the government turned around and said, now that we've banned this kind of food and that kind of soda, and we've put taxes on this, that, and the other thing to fight obesity, we still find that the system is too expensive. I guess we have to get into people's sexual behaviors. I mean, we've gotten into what they smoke. We've gotten into what they drink. We've gotten into what they eat. We've gotten into what they feed their kids. We've gotten into their bathrooms. We've gotten into their garages. We've gotten into their kitchens. Now we have to get into the bedroom, because promiscuity is spreading STDs, and the healthcare system run by government can't afford to treat everybody with HIV and AIDS. So we have to start putting a clamp down on sexual behaviors. The American left in this country would go crazy. 1-866-95-PATRIOT. This is what liberals don't understand. Liberals want to centralize government and decentralize wealth. Conservatives want to decentralize government and let wealth fall where it may. The modern American conservative movement is a liberty-based small government movement. And when some of the dummies say things like, well, the Nazis were a right-wing movement. First of all, they weren't. They were a left-wing movement. National Socialism. But European left and right is different than American left and right. When you claim that left and right in Europe, well, that was a right, that doesn't apply. When you hear the Japanese Social Democrats have won houses in their parliament, their Democratic Party is very different than our Democratic Party. It's either the Constitution or it's not. It's either in there or it isn't there. The Constitution is not a document of wealth redistribution, of government being the answer to all questions and the solver of all problems. It is a document that limits the role of government in the lives of people. Maybe if Alexander Hamilton had gotten his way, maybe if he had structured the government as he described in Federalist 27, we would have this government. But Hamilton lost that debate, and Federalist 27 is the opposite of what our government was structured to be. These arguments cannot be broken. They cannot be broken. The liberal movement in this country is not a movement of liberty. It is not a movement seeking to reduce government intervention in the lives of people. It is not a maximum absence of coercion movement. It is a maximum presence of coercion movement. But they've reconciled that because they've decided that's what's best. That's the greater good. Really smart people made these decisions. So what? If you have some guy over here with no real formal education and some guy over here who has 3 different advanced degrees from Harvard University, that doesn't automatically beget his control of the person without a formal education. It doesn't. Well, he's smarter than him. He knows what's best. No, he doesn't. If he knows what's best, he should go out there and ply a trade in the market and be a market leader rather than some government bureaucrat trying to control the people that he considers lesser than him. This is why I say to any liberal, to any Democrat, to any progressive, anywhere, anytime, any topic, we're right, they're wrong. That's the end of the story. The arguments cannot be broken. By the way, Alan West's new nickname has to be the Dragon. Alan the Dragon West. We're going to read his email to Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who he says is vile and not a lady, and I happen to agree. Sirius XM Patriot.